everyone. Welcome to Cannabis Tech Talks, your weekly source for news and insights at the intersection of cannabis and technology. Shout out to our title sponsor, PolyScience, for supporting this podcast. I'm Patricia Miller, executive editor with Cannabis and Tech Today. Joining me for this episode is Tim Pickett, founder of the GreenFrame app. So this platform allows retail customers to sort of explore cannabis products in 3 dimensions by scanning a QR code. The visuals are also accompanied by tons of detailed information like cannabinoid profiles, terpene content, and even cultivation methods. So pretty immersive. So let's dive in. Tim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Patricia.
Yeah, I hope that was a very quick synopsis, but accurate.
I think you nailed it. You nailed it. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, so before we dive into this technology, which I think a lot of our retail listeners are going to be pretty stoked to hear about, tell me what kind of excited you about getting into a cannabis affiliated business.
Personal experiences. To make a long story short, I had one of my best friends played in the NFL for 10 years, and I saw what head trauma and concussions were doing to him. And with the addition of prescription medication that the coaches tend to dole out pretty easily to players, I saw the effects that it was having on him. And it was terrifying. And to see he started using cannabis, and he made like a rebound. It was almost like I got my best friend back. And I got to see in front of me what cannabis did for somebody. And he has said it many times, it saved his life. And I saw it in front of me with my own 2 eyes. And I had never been that involved in cannabis. And once I saw the medical benefit of it, I was obsessed. I wanted to learn everything I could about the plant, about the history, about the biology of it. And so I kind of immersed myself in that world and then turned it into a passion, became a passion, and now it became my full-time business. And all because of this experience, this personal experience I had with my best friend.
I love asking that question first because I feel like no matter what someone's doing, if they're fortunate, it's something that they're passionate about. There's a love and a passion behind it, especially in this industry. So I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
Do you have
Yeah. So that.
Do you have a technology background as well?
Yeah. So I spent 15 years in the music industry, and then I went into the tech world a while, maybe another 15 years ago. And I started working with some startups locally here in St. Louis. And then I moved into the creative world, kind of the branding agency side of things. And I spent the last decade at a branding agency here in St. Louis, working with a lot of tech projects, working with developers and designers. And it really sparked my my interest in that field. And then when people start talking about cannabis maybe being on the ballot here in 2028 medicinally, and I thought, holy cow, this is amazing. Like this might happen here in Missouri out of all the places. And so I just started cold calling people. Can I meet you for coffee? Anyone that had anything to do with the industry. I just wanted to learn as much as I could about it, being so new. And started to meet people, started to just lock down mentors. And then I went to my agency and said, we should really look into this industry. And my goal was to create an agency within an agency that just dealt with the local cannabis companies that were starting here in 2018 when it passed. And that's what I did. And so I got to do a lot of packaging and web design, content creation, video, with a lot of the local startups here. And it was an amazing experience being able to work with people and enjoy this industry from the ground up, like a fresh industry here in Missouri. So that kind of I got my technology and cannabis passions kind of got to meld together.
I love that. It's really cool to hear because it sounds like everything kind of culminated for you to create GreenFrame.
It did. It did. And the obviously 2018 happened, past year medically was a big deal. And then COVID happened and ruined a lot of things like it did with a lot of people's lives. And so that whole marketing aspect of it kind of took a hit, and people weren't spending money. There wasn't a lot of people weren't doing a lot of marketing in cannabis. And I thought, okay, I went to a dispensary one day with my medical card, went in, talked to the bud tender, and said, "Hey, tell me about some of the new products you have coming out." And he said, "To be honest, man, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff coming out. There's a lot of information. Can't memorize it all." And I thought,
Hmm.
that's a bummer. And no offense to this poor guy, he's overwhelmed with either too much information or not enough information. And I left thinking, this is a really trying time here, especially in Missouri. You have these patients that might be going into a dispensary for the one and only time of their life to look for relief.
Yeah.
And if they're not getting that information or they're not having a good experience, you could lose them forever. And they might not be able to discover this plant and its benefits. So I thought there has got to be a way to get this information into the bud tender's hands, into the patient's hands. And so I came and just kind of noodled on it, and I thought, well, who had a better comeback during quarantine than the QR code? I mean, honestly, I mean
Yeah.
that thing came back to life. So I thought, okay, let's use that technology because people are really familiar with it,
Totally.
menus and restaurants and stuff. So I thought, let's utilize that. It's not too advanced for the older crowd. The younger crowd gets it. Okay, let's utilize that. So let's have a QR code where you can scan inside a dispensary. And here in Missouri, as far as I understand, you're not supposed to have product on the floor. So that makes it difficult for people to see what they're buying, to see what the product looks like.
Hmm.
And in a new medical market, uh, people aren't really sure what's in that package. So I thought,
Yeah.
okay, let's make a 3D version of this product that you can interact with and have it go to a product page through the QR code. You can interact with the product. There's a gallery where you can see close-ups for the advanced users who want to see those, trichomes and everything. And then below that, we'll have all the information, very high level, top reported effects. Um, talk about terpenes, talk about cannabinoids. We talk to the grower. We get the grower involved, and they talk about how it was cultivated, some of the interesting aspects of that strain. And then we get to talk below the product about the brand giving you that product, which is good. People want to know where they're putting their money these days. And I want to know what the brand is doing. Are they involved in eco-friendly packaging? Are they involved in social equity? Like, I want to know that stuff. They're getting my money. So this is where they get to highlight that. They get to highlight the product. They get to highlight the company behind the product. And I thought this would be a great way to make the bud tender's job easier. They can just scan it. It's web-based, not an app. You don't have to download it. Pulls up a web page and you get that information, helps the bud tender relay that information to the patients and now customers. And then if the customers want to scan, they can do their own research while they're in there or in the waiting area of the dispensary. Very long-winded, but that's how this journey came about.
No, I think every point you hit was important to touch on because this isn't necessarily something people are used to being able to ask questions about, even if they were using
Right,
it in the illicit market previously. You didn't get to
right,
ask the person you buying it from, any background information. And now you can really treat this
sure,
as a commodity, as a consumer packaged good. Where did this
right,
come from? How is it manufactured? What do I need to know about it?
right,
There's a ton of diversity available. And I think to give
sure,
credit to the craft growers, they're doing very specific things to make these products special and potent and
Right.
well crafted, well manufactured, safe. And so if you're not getting
Right.
that information across to customers, the regulators might
Right.
know that you're adhering to the standards they've set out, but how are your customers appreciating the care and effort you're putting in? And I think that's going to serve to really
Right.
differentiate brands as well.
I think so as well. Another thing to look at is the intimidation factor. You know, when this was new here in Missouri, people don't know what to ask. They don't necessarily want to go in and share what they're going through or physical ailments they may have. Like this is another way to kind of get that information themselves, and then maybe having the confidence to ask, you know, the bud tender. So that's another facet too that I wanted to, you know, make sure I gave that information that's digestible to somebody who's new to the plant.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like it's an interesting dynamic in the dispensaries. People walk in and you've got the, maybe casual or recreational user who doesn't need to go into any background about what they're looking to experience. But
Right.
for people who are looking to use it medicinally, it's not like it's a private environment where you can pull a bud tender aside and say, "Hey, can you give me some medical advice? I've got
Right.
something going on." So you either have to be
Sure.
very open with what's happening, or you have to, like you said, keep
Sure.
it to yourself and not have a resource to ask. So I can appreciate that
Right.
use for it also.
Right. Right. Yes. So, and then there's the other aspect is there's a fine line between medical claims as well. So you still have that involved in this whole equation is not, you can't say that it's going to do stuff for you, you know. So we have these are the information that we have in here about effects and all that kind of stuff. That's information that we've gathered that people have reported on. This isn't, the company's not saying this will do that. These are users saying this is how it has helped me to avoid any sort of trouble, you know, with the FDA and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's where the emerging research around terpenes is becoming more valuable. You're finding,
Right.
scientifically tested
Yep.
results from just the terpenes, and then
Right.
now slowly starting to get more research around cannabinoids and their effects. But
Right.
as you said, it's still kind of largely anecdotal. So, being
Mhm.
able to present that information, I think, in a digestible way where people can kind of say, okay, based on use cases, this is sort of what people are experiencing. It's helpful. And
Right.
Missouri, you said, is an environment where you can't see and experience the product. New Mexico, where I'm located, is um, more free range. You can show people products, they can smell it, they can experience it, but some places
Right.
still choose not to do that. So I went into a dispensary
Right.
recently and they had all of their product prepackaged. You can't see or taste or smell any of it. And you can't even really see it in the bags. And so I said, well, how am I supposed to make this decision? And she said, well, I guess I could pull up on Leafly if you want to, know more about it. And so for me, I was like, man, I'm not really gonna sit here while you pull up everyone, slowly type it in and do the thing. But I think if there had
Right.
been a QR code right there and I could have gone boop, seen it,
Right.
3 dimensions
Right.
and said, oh, okay, this
Yep.
has got these terps that I like. Oh, this is in the Kush family. Okay, I
Right.
like that. I could have made a
Yep.
quicker decision without holding up the line behind me,
Right.
asking this woman to
Exactly.
help me Google something. It's just a
Right.
smoother process, it sounds like, with the GreenFrame.
Yes, I agree. And you know, down here in Missouri, you know, I've been in dispensaries where they have like a almost like a trapper keeper, if you will, full of the information.
Okay.
And again, it's not it's not as easy. It's not as the experience isn't that great. There's always people. There's always a line. You know, there's there's always a, oh well, hold on, let me stop everything and go over and find this booklet, and that hopes that it has information that might be relevant or might uh, be updated, maybe not. And so this is fresh, on the spot, right there, information right in your hand. And I was trying to make it as easy as possible for the bud tender and for the customer.
That's cool. Are there other companies that
Mhm.
are offering similar services?
To be honest, I haven't seen it. I'm not reinventing the wheel by any means. This type of technology is in a ton of other industries. I just hadn't personally seen it in cannabis. So like MJ Biz, like 2021 is when I started coming up with the idea, and I walked the floor going, well, somebody's got to have this for sure. And I didn't see it. And I thought, okay, well, why don't I just do it? Those
Yeah.
stories of, oh, I wish I would have done it, and I didn't want to be that guy going, oh, I should have done it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And so while I was at my agency, I built, it took 14 months to build this whole thing. And the best part was I got to utilize, it was a full service agency. So I got to utilize all these big brains of the 3D technology and content and developers. And I got to integrate all this great technology and brainstorm. And then at the end of 2022, went to my boss and said, hey, I think this needs to stand on its own. And so we worked something out, and I took it out on my own and jumped in head first, 100% me. And because I knew I would just kick myself the rest of my life if I didn't do this. And I have the passion and the drive for it and the stories to support it. And I thought, this is a perfect opportunity. It's terrifying and scary as hell, but I have to do it. And so I just dove in head first. And it's been a very interesting 2023. There's a lot of stuff that I had to learn. I've always come from the creative side and the fun marketing side. And then that was 90% of what I did. And now it's 5% of what I do, because there's sales and there's meetings and informing people and education and accounting and legal. And so all of these different facets of running your own business kind of came into play. And so I've learned a ton this year, and there's been highs and lows, just like everything, but the fire has still been burning. And that is the best part of it, is that I want to keep doing this. And I feel like it's a good product. It's a great plant, and it's helping to inform people. I've already converted my parents, which I never thought ever the day would happen, until
Mm.
I got the call. Hey, can you come over and you just explain this? Could you explain this to us? And my mom's literally taking notes, thinking, okay, no, okay, what is this again? And I thought, okay, this is why I want to do this. This is to inform people, to, show the light, to maybe help somebody, maybe ease somebody's pain, maybe help them with something. And that's what's been driving me through this whole thing.
Well, so what are some of the challenges to getting more people to adopt this? Because like right now, I know if a retailer were listening to this and they're like, I want to get this in my store today, do they have to work
Mm-hmm.
with their cultivators, to get those images?
Mm-hmm.
What's that process look like?
Yeah, so I do work strictly with the cultivators. So I work with the brands, because my idea is that these brands, if they want to highlight their products inside of a dispensary, then my relationship should be with them, because then I can highlight their products, I can highlight the information about the brand, and make the job of the bud tenders easier in the dispensary for those products of that brand, that kind of dives in with me and partners with me to get this information out. So working with the cultivators is uh, is the way I go with this for sure. And it's been a very fun uh, experience getting all that information, and all the information that is involved in these product pages are from the COAs and are directly from the cultivators.
That's cool. So
Mm-hmm.
if a cultivator were interested in this, for their region, for their state,
Mhm.
they would come to GreenFrame and say, "Hey, I'm ready to start this process." And do they need specific
Mhm.
technology to get the images that you require, or?
Yeah, and that has been, Patricia, that has been the most challenging part,
Right.
is the difference of laws in states. Um, so some products, vape pens, gummies, even, you can send without THC, and we can scan those images. So we use a process called photogrammetry, and basically we place an image in our little studio that we built, and we take 200 images of this product, and then we use this process called photogrammetry. We put it all together into one image. So basically, if you look at it this way, we're reality and turning it into virtual reality. You
Yeah.
know, this is that plant, but a different form of it. So having, we for flower, for example, we have to have that physically in front of us. So that has been the toughest part, is if a company, in Washington calls and says we want to do this, figuring that aspect out. How
Totally.
do we do this? How do we expand into that market? Do we have a photographer up there that understands how we do that? So that's been our growing process, the small struggle, if you will,
Mhm.
especially with flower, is trying to legally find a way to make that happen. And it has to happen in person. So it means traveling or working on a different product line that they have.
Yeah. That's
That's
interesting
easier
to think
to
about.
get a hold of. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thinking about that process. And I guess maybe that's a good segue into what are you looking at for the future? What do you see down the line for GreenFrame?
Yeah, I mean, expansion. Ideally, I'm such a homeboy when it comes to St. Louis. I want these experiences and this technology coming from the Midwest. I love this city. I love this state, and I want to help put St. Louis on the map as a city, outside of, Denver and LA and Las Vegas. I want St. Louis to be on the map for having good experiences, good technology, um, you know, good user interactions inside of a dispensary. I want that coming from here. And so what my whole idea is to really build this up from the Midwest and start to spread out that way. And so far, so good. And I've met a lot of great companies here. A lot of people believed in me, partnered with me, and um, so growing it out of Missouri has been my goal, and it's it's happening. We do have clients outside of Missouri, which is just unbelievable. But that is the goal for expansion, is just kind of like growing it within and outward.
And where can our audience go to follow your progress and check out more about the app?
Yeah, greenframeapp.com has all the information and contact information. And then, we have Instagram. I'm not great at Instagram, Patricia. If you asked me to whip up a MySpace page, I could probably do it in 2 minutes. But as far as this stuff, TikTok and Snapchat and all that kind of stuff, I'm not great at it. I'm getting there, but we do have an active Instagram page which kind of highlights our products, our progress. What we do every month is we highlight a bud tender. We have highlight a bud tender of the month every month. One that we've heard from people. You got to go visit this person. They are amazing. So we go out, we highlight them, we take a picture of them, we talk to them about their favorite products, what they like about being a bud tender, and we highlight those people in our social media, and it's a really good feeling, and it's fun to walk out of there with a bud tender that works hard, going, hey, I was recognized, like that. I like that, and that it makes me feel good as well. So that's kind of what our social media platform is as well, as how we're doing and then how the industry's doing.
That's so cool. I love that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I think I learned a lot. I hope our audience did too. I'm looking forward to seeing the progress, and I hope we'll start seeing GreenFrame, expand its reach because I think it's a valuable product.
Yeah.
So I
Thank you.
appreciate
I
you chatting
appreciate
with
that.
me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to learn more about emerging cannabis technologies, be sure to like this podcast and subscribe to Cannabis Tech Talks. You can pick up the most recent issue of Cannabis and Tech Today on Barnes & Noble newsstands across the country, or grab a copy for free on canatechtoday.com. This podcast is produced in part by Pretty Easy Podcasts. Visit prettyeasypodcast.com if you're looking for professional production quality at an affordable rate. Until next time, stay elevated.
Hey, hello, I'm Tommy Chong. If you want something really nice in your laboratory, buy DuraChill. I'm telling you, if you're not using this DuraChill, you're not really in the pot business. You're just on the fringe of it. So if you really want to get serious, man, this is what you need. You need a DuraChill in your life. You got the technology here to have the cleanest, purest, healthiest product. I'm impressed. You want me to sell this? Buy it. Try DuraChill or else. If your chiller's down, you ain't making money. And you heard it from me, Tommy Chong.
Brought to you by PolyScience.
This show was produced by Cannabis Tech Today and Pretty Easy Podcasts. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com now if you're looking to get professional production help on your own podcast at an affordable rate. Pretty Easy Podcasts, making podcasting pretty easy.